What up, crypto warriors? It's Sergeant Crypto back at it again. And I'm here tonight to talk about Bitcoin, what it is, what is Bitcoin. But before I get into that, just want to say thank you for supporting the channel. Don't forget to smash that like, hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you're new around here. So let's get into it. Basically, a couple of friends of mine don't know what Bitcoin is. All right, they just had a few questions or comments, or their idea of what Bitcoin is, to me, is wrong. I'm just here to kind of guide them and help bring them into the light. All right. One question was, what is it? What is Bitcoin? Will it put money in my account? Like one of my friends, a trainer friend of mine, he's from the Army. And, he said, what is Bitcoin? Will it put money in my account rather than some kind of internet currency only accepted at hipster coffee bars? And another friend of mine who does do a little investing in Bitcoin, he asked, where does it go from here? As far as the general public accepting it, most businesses and corporations accepting it, what happens next? And he said, from what he understands is, the only people accepting it right now are criminals trying to funnel it to launder money. I'm going to try and clear that up as much as possible and explain, what Bitcoin is and the functions, and try to squash some of their beliefs or their ideas of what it is so far. All right, so let's get into it. So according to the Google, a Bitcoin is a type of digital currency in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units of currency and verify the transfer of funds, operating independently of a central bank. That is a mouthful. That's a lot. And then, according to the Wikipedia, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency and worldwide payment system. It is the first decentralized digital currency, as the system works without a central bank or single administrator. Those are the official definition of what Bitcoin is. But I'm going to tell you what Bitcoin is to me. Bitcoin is, to me, a form of peer-to-peer payment system without a third party verifying or having to handle that payment. Say, for instance, and this is real world, real case situation right here that I'm giving you. If I want to send money to Jamaica, to my family members in Jamaica, I would have to use some kind of remittance services. If I'm using like Western Union or, MoneyGram or something to that effect, and I send them money, let's just say $100. I think the fees right now are like maybe $10 or $15, something like that. Well, whatever it is, it's way too high. So me sending them money, if I'm trying to send $100, guess what? Western Union and or MoneyGram or any other remittance service is going to take their cut right off the top. It's going to, they'll essentially get less than what I send them. So if we're using Bitcoin, me sending them Bitcoin, I'm sending them $100 worth of Bitcoin. They're getting that $100 worth of Bitcoin. Yes, there are some fees involved. However, they're pennies on the dollar, or just pennies per transaction, not even on the dollar, but pennies per transaction. All right, because the other day, someone transferred $99 million worth of Litecoin. That's another cryptocurrency. They call that the silver to Bitcoin. And they sent basically $100 million, and it only cost them 40 cents to send $100 million to use it in one transaction. So for me, that's what Bitcoin is, and cryptocurrencies in general. It's a way to send money and to do transactions without the need of a third party, without like a Venmo app or wiring money through the bank or whatever, because everybody wants to get their cut. That's what Bitcoin is to me. The next question was, will it put money in my account? Well, you are your own bank, so you don't even need a bank account to transact with Bitcoin. So you are your own bank. So, it's decentralized. It's away from the system. Because Bitcoin came about because of the whole situation after 2008, the too big to fail banks and the taxpayers saving these large organizations after years of scamming people, and then we bailed them out. Someone or some people came up with Bitcoin, this peer-to-peer transaction system without the need for a bank and or a central government is trying to scam people. Will it put money in your bank account? You're your own bank, and you have your own, control of your funds without the need for a bank. It will be only accepted at hipster coffee bars because, we live in New York here. A lot of places that accept Bitcoin, are quote unquote hipster coffee bars and things like that. But yes, you can spend Bitcoin at several different places. If you go to coinmap.org, whoops, my bad, you'll see exactly where you could use and transact with Bitcoin in your area. So like I said, I live in the New York City area. There are dozens of places that accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies right now. And let's not forget online organizations as well. You could go online and transact with Bitcoin just like you use a credit card. Overstock.com was one of the first big companies to start accepting Bitcoin. I think back in 2013 or 2014. Microsoft, Virgin, Save the Children, eGifter, OkCupid, Wikipedia, Peach Airlines, Tesla if you want to look to get a new car, Zynga. So there's tons of places online that accept Bitcoin. And also in Japan, basically, there are thousands of retailers that accept Bitcoin. And I know you're saying, if you don't live in Japan, like, what the hell does that got to do with me? Well, I'm just trying to point out that, they are ahead of other developed nations as far as when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. A day ago, I think, see when was this written? Yesterday, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis said that Bitcoin is currency. They compared it to the US dollar. Here it is. But the St. Louis Fed has provided a credible rebuttal to one of the most widespread and misguided criticism of cryptocurrencies, that because it isn't tied to a particular real-world commodity, it should have a monetary value of zero. As Fed researchers point out, since decoupling from the gold standard in the early 70s, almost all global reserve currencies rely on nothing but trust to function as a media of value exchange. So if you don't know your history, then you wouldn't know this, that the US dollar, the most used currency in the world, isn't backed by anything. It's just paper money. We could be spending monopoly money for all, we care or whatever, because it's just backed on trust of the US government, or it's not backed by anything physically. So not like by gold, silver, just any like real commodity. It's just backed on the trust of the US government. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now. And I'm not going to get into that. That's like a video for another time. Cryptocurrencies are just like real world money because they're just backed on, by trust. I would much rather trust Bitcoin and their immutable ledger, all right, meaning that you can't change it, all right, than what we have right now with the US dollar. For my next friend, his question was, where does it go from here? All right, so where does it go from here? That depends. All right, that depends on being accepted worldwide. There are a lot of institutional, money coming into the game as far as investing in Bitcoin. There are a lot of hedge funds already started, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency hedge funds. There are a lot of index fund for Bitcoin. The regulators in the US are trying to figure out what exactly is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Right now, we have the CBOE and CME, the guys that trade futures and commodities. They're calling it a commodity. We have the SEC, they're trying to call it a security, all right, like stocks and stuff. And then you have the IRS that's saying, hey, if you have Bitcoin, we have to tax you as if it's a property. So until these alphabet boys get it right, we don't know what the future brings. They're not on the same page. So these alphabet boys need to get it right and get on the same page and decide what they're going to declare it. They're trying to box it in with things like securities or commodities and or properties, based on rules that was set up over 80 years ago. This is a new asset class. They're not securities. They're not commodities, definitely not property, right? So they just have to declare it as a new asset class and give it a set of new rules, in my opinion. All right, but who am I? Where does it go from here? To me, it's going to go to the moon. All right, where does it go from here? It's going to the moon. There are more businesses accepting it every single day. There's more organizations accepting it every day, and more banks are coming on board because they see that, hey, they could make some money from this. All right, we had Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, last year said it's a Ponzi scheme, it's not real, it's stupid. While he was saying that, a different department of the JP Morgan Chase, in Europe was trading Bitcoin. He just said all that just to drop the price because of who he is. He's very high up in the financial world, so his word does hold some weight. So he said what he said to drop the price to get in at a lower price. Regulators in Switzerland charged them and sued them with, money fraud and money laundering, or that's that. And as far as Bitcoin being used only or mostly for illicit activities, there's a study that was done that less than 1% of Bitcoin transactions could be connected to money laundering or of illicit funds. Less than 1%, because still to this day, the almighty US dollar is used the most for illicit activities. When you're doing a drug deal, when you're doing a gun deal, when you're doing anything illegal, you want cold, hard cash in your hands. You don't want no digital currencies. And guess what? For all the time the media is saying, hey, Bitcoin is untraceable and you could do all these things, on the dark web. It's a public ledger, people. Any detective, even like I'm using Marine Corps term, a shitbag detective, could figure out Bitcoin address belongs to what person. Any Bitcoin address could always be traced back to someone because it's a public ledger. You could go on there and see the transactions. As a matter of fact, let me do that right now. All right, let's go to Bitcoin Block Explorer. Here it is over the last minute. The transactions, total sent. Let's go see more. So that's the amount sent. So these are all different transactions, all bundled into one, basically. All right, and you could dig deeper and find the addresses where the money was sent from and sent to. And I think that's one of the main reasons why banks and governments don't want Bitcoin around. Because imagine if we had an open public ledger before the 2008 crash. Imagine if we had that. We would have seen the Great Recession coming way before it came, because we would have seen them that they were fudging the books. All right, you can't hide it. That's the point of a blockchain. You can't hide what's being done on it, and you can't go back to change it. All right, because once it's written, it's written. That's why governments hate it so much. That's why banks hate it, because we don't need a bank, when this becomes popular or when this becomes more mainstream, because then all we got to do is we could just transact between each other. We don't need to, have our money in the bank. We could just have our money sitting in our Bitcoin wallets and not have it sit in the checking account where they charge us $15 a month to have a checking account open if your balance is under $2,500 or some nonsense like that. Okay. And then now a lot of banks are increasing that. To answer your question, that's where it's going. Yeah, Bitcoin is used in some illicit activities, but guess what? Less than 1% of all the transactions of Bitcoin is used for illicit activities. That's that. Let me know what you guys think. I hope I answered your questions. Don't forget to smash that like and share. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell to get notified when I upload new videos, man. Thanks for watching. Peace.